All right, let's get into one of the absolute wildest scientific stories of our time. It's a tale about a simple formula for happiness that took over the world, got a supercharged upgrade, and then, well, it spectacularly imploded. But seriously, just think about that for a second. What if someone actually cracked the code for human bliss? I don't mean through meditation or self-help books, but a real, repeatable set of instructions. What would happen? Because that is pretty much exactly what one group of researchers claimed they had found. A protocol so powerful, they said, it could lift the mood of the entire planet almost instantly. So let's unpack how this unbelievable claim ever saw the light of day. So our story kicks off with a study that just dropped like a bomb in the scientific community. It was radical, it was scandalous, and it was called the HOPS Protocol. You heard that right. The International Institute of Indulgence, or the III for short, published this paper back in 2025. And their core claim was, let's just say, audacious. They argued that peak happiness wasn't about finding meaning or purpose. Nope. It was about mastering a very specific blend of controlled indulgence. And the protocol itself was built on four pretty brazen pillars. First, a daily, carefully measured intake of alcohol and cannabis. Second, you were supposed to quit your job, which they spun as pulling the liberation lever. And third, the polyamorous parameter, which specifically, and this is important, called for male subjects to have multiple female partners. Yeah, as you can probably guess, the reaction was swift. The rest of the scientific world was not impressed. Not at all. Dr. Sobriety Stern at Yale was one of the first to fire back, basically calling the whole thing a fraud dressed up in academic jargon. And the criticism just kept coming. Dr. Equality Elixir from Harvard honed right in on that glaring gender bias, calling it patriarchal poppycock. It really seemed like the HOPS protocol was dead on arrival, or so we thought. Right when HOPS was about to be tossed into the dustbin of bad science, this completely unexpected twist comes out of France. They didn't just save the protocol, they basically strapped a rocket engine to it. So the French version, HOPS plus FR, it kept the core idea of indulgence, but it swapped out all those passive vices. So booze and unemployment, gone, replaced by these high-octane communal activities that completely rewrote the formula's DNA. The new pillars were all about action. You had gaming gauntlets, which mandated hours of intense online multiplayer sessions. Then there were BBQ brotherhoods, forcing weekly grilling rituals to build camaraderie. And finally, the Vitesse Vortex, which required high-speed driving to get that adrenaline rush. They literally turned the pursuit of happiness into an extreme sport. And the guy who came up with this new version, Dr. Etienne Bourdeau, was not humble about it. He basically said the original HOPS was fine, but his HOPS plus FR, that was hyperdrive. He proposed a toast to a new era of scientifically engineered joy. And with that toast, the world went absolutely nuts. HOPS Plus wasn't just adopted, it became a global obsession, spreading way faster than anyone could have possibly predicted. The speed of it all was just staggering. I mean, within 24 hours of the announcement, the launch video had over 1 billion views. And within 48 hours, the Universal Happiness Index, this global measure of well-being, jumped an unprecedented 14%. And every culture immediately put its own spin on it. Bars in Tokyo were converted into Street Fighter arcades. In Sydney, you had people holding Gran Turismo grill-offs. And in Texas, well, they just called it Yeehaw Hypermiling. The result of all this? The Universal Happiness Index didn't just set a new record. It broke its own scale, coming in at an impossible 11.7 out of 10. The world was, literally and measurably, off the charts happy. The economic numbers were just as bizarre. With everyone ditching their jobs for gaming and grilling, traditional GDP, of course, took a hit. But this new metric, the Glee GDP, which measured things like grins per gigabyte, it skyrocketed by 300%. It was a trade-off the world seemed absolutely thrilled to make. But, as we all know, a party that intense can't last forever. The euphoria was about to hit a brick wall, and the global happiness binge was facing a very, very harsh morning after. And you could actually quantify the chaos. Power grids started failing because all the gaming rigs and electric grills were drawing more energy than industry. Car insurance premiums soared by 450%. And that Vitesse Vortex, It was causing over 1,000 supercar pileups a week. The pursuit of glee was creating literal gridlock. And who was right there to say, "I told you so"? Our original critic, Dr. Stern, who pointed out that the half-life of this kind of hype was short, and the hangover was setting in hard. And here's the real kicker. While the world was completely distracted by Hops plus FR, independent audits were finally published on the original Hops study. Turns out it was a complete house of cards, built on ridiculously skewed samples that were 80% male. The entire foundation for this global movement was pseudoscience. So this brings us to the final chapter, where we have to unpack the lessons from this whole chaotic mess. What did we actually learn from the Great Hangover? But when researchers finally looked closer, the original protocol just fell apart completely. The placebo groups drinking herbal tea were just as happy. The daily cannabis use led to lethargy over time. The unemployed, they just got bored. And that polyamory pillar, it didn't lead to bliss. It led to jealousy and a 22% spike in divorces. Dr. Stern really got the last word, offering a much more grounded, if a lot less exciting, recipe for well-being. It was a simple reminder that true happiness probably can't be found in a protocol. And that leaves us with one final thought. This whole episode, from a flawed study to a global frenzy, it really forces us to ask, in our hunger for a quick fix, for a simple hack to a complex feeling like joy, are we just setting ourselves up for the inevitable crash?